Assess muscle strength in the legs.
Relax.
Test hip flexion by placing your hand on the
Lift your
patient's
thigh up against
anterior
my
thigh
hand.
and providing resistance.
Relax.
Then test hip extension by
Push your
placing
thigh
your
down
hand on the
against my hand.
patient's posterior thigh and providing resistance.
Push your thigh down against my hand.
To test
Relax.
hip abduction, place your hands firmly on the table outside the patient's knees.
Spread your knees
Ask him to
apart.
spread both legs against your hands. To test hip adduction, place your hands between the patient's knees and ask him to bring his legs together. Note the strength.
Try to lift your foot off the table.
Continue by testing muscle strength at the knee. To assess extension, support the patient's knee in flexion and ask him to straighten his leg against your hand.
Try to lift this foot off the table.
Note the strength and compare it with the other side.
Relax. Don't let me lift this foot off the table.
To assess knee flexion, shift your hands, but leave the patient's leg flexed at the knee. Then ask the patient to keep his heel on the table as you try to straighten the leg by pulling it upward. Again, note the strength and compare it with the other knee. Finally, test dorsiflexion and plantar flexion at the ankle by asking the patient to pull up and push down against your hand. All of these tests can also be performed with the patient seated and holding on to the table for support.
Your knee up towards the ceiling.
Hip flexion,
Put your knees apart.
hip
Hard
abduction,
as you can. Relax. Your knees
hip
together.
adduction,
Hard as you can. Relax.
knee extension, knee flexion,
Relax. Down against my
ankle
hand.
plantar flexion,
Relax.
and ankle dorsiflexion.
Relax.